Do not worry, little one. All that I need is to borrow some parts. I hope that will not be a problem to you. Now please stay still. This process may cause symptoms such as pain. Literally didn't even taste that good.
Hello Internet! Welcome to Meta Theory, ripping off famous YouTube channels since
Intentionally indeterminate amount of time so I don't write myself into a corner.
I'm your host Meatsack, and today I'm here to uncover the deepest secrets hidden inside YouTube's latest sensation, murder drones. A nice and innocent 3D animation about cute robots murdering each other to satisfy their dying hunger for oil. Or so it seems. I have seen many YouTube videos being suggested to me of fellow theorists trying to figure out the timeline, the lore, and what's ahead in the story. But honestly, I think we haven't dug deep enough into this murder hole, and I'm here to do just that. This, my friends, is the boldest and most absurd theory about murder drones yet, and it just might so happen to be right. In this episode, we're going to show the hidden purposes of the Absolute Solver, the hidden importance of Yuzi's mother, and how this girl isn't even human herself. So, let's start by catching up for some of you who aren't living the robo life like I am. Murder Drones is a 2021 web series created by Liam Vickers with the help of Australian animation studios Glitch Productions about sentient robots labeled worker drones struggling to survive on the post-apocalyptic exoplanet Copper-9 by hiding from rogue robots, which they call murder drones. The show centers around worker drone Yuzi and her personal conflicts with trying to escape from the shadow of her father, and overall angsty robotic teen problems. One day, she decides to head outside a facility where her and her fellow worker drones hide from the bloodthirsty, or rather oil-thirsty, murder drones, officially labeled as disassembly drones, to find a spare battery for her railgun. There she is met by serial designation N, who tries to kill her but ends up getting his head shot off. Good job, noob. He regenerates the missing limb but loses his recent memories in the reboot, along with some of his recognition software, mistaking Yuzi for a disassembly drone. They form a bond, other evil disassembly drones arrive, and gets his memory back after being promptly smacked in the face. The murder drones invade the worker drones' hideout and kill everyone they find, yada yada yada. And has second thoughts, gets stabbed by his teammate Jay, and has a change of heart. This sets up the series' main focus, a duo of Yuzi and N, and where every other narrative thread originates from. One of such mysteries comes in the form of a program called Absolute Solver, usually being displayed by this icon right here. The series across its 3 released episodes as of now has painted a somewhat clear picture of at least the main concept of this program. The Absolute Solver seems to be a fail-safe program, a last-ditch effort to repair disassembly drones that have been damaged to the point where auto repair, as shown by N right here, is no longer an option. This is supported by this message Yuzi reads on the wall during the episode Heartbeat, which states that the Absolute Solver program was started due to the host's reboot failing, which itself happened because there was insufficient material. However, the show also does not hide the fact that there's something more about this application. At the very end of the first episode, the same symbol that we know represents the Absolute Solver program is clearly seen being shown on Yuzi's visor. Not only that, if you really squint your eyes while pausing the video, you can read the message Absolute Solver string equals false, only to see it change to Absolute Solver string equals true, which if you know anything about code and programming, then you know that string SHIT is about to go true. So yeah, as if to make things such as coding and robotics more complicated, we are now met by worker drones, and I mean worker drones, as in plural, that somehow also have access to the Absolute Solver. The extension of that is most explored through Doll, a teen worker drone just like Yuzi, who at first glance only seemed to be the stereotypical one friend of the mean girl, being the yes robot for everything her friends said or did. But just as episode 2 came around, we uncovered some deep and dark things about Doll. To make a long backstory short, Doll's parents seem to have been killed by V, and his final colleague in his squadron of disassembly drones along with their leader Jay, while she could only watch in terror while hiding. That in turn made her somber and vengeful, outright going after V in episode 3, and thanks to her surprising connection to the Absolute Solver and the powers that it brought her, she almost managed to pull out a feat, had it not been for Yuzi, who herself also possesses the program. So we have two seemingly random worker drones who have managed to unlock the Absolute Solver application. Now all that's left to do is find out what's the reason behind it all. To do that, we first need to connect the dots between our two cases. In other words, we have to find similarities between the stories of Yuzi and Doll. We already talked about Doll's tragic backstory with watching her parents die by the hands of a disassembly drone. But what about Yuzi? Well, in the first episode, Khan Dorman, Yuzi's door-obsessed father, casually reveals that Yuzi's mother, Nori, was killed by the corrosive nanites of a disassembly drone. Well, technically it was Khan himself who put her out of her misery, but that's beside the point. Both of our worker drones have had family die by the hands of murder drones. However, I knew it wouldn't be enough to just stop there. No, I had to dig deeper. One of the big reveals of the end of episode 3 is that Doll had been killing her fellow worker drones to consume their oil, just like a disassembly drone would. This implies that it's encoded on the program itself, the host's obsessive hunger for oil, and is further supported by Yuzi implicitly leaking some oil from her fingers later in that same episode. But I think that this next connection is what really pulls everything together. In the most recent episode of the show, a strange detail has really caught the attention of multiple Murder Drones fans, and that being this closet. Earlier in the episode, and even at the end of the previous one, Yuzi can be seen looking up at her conspiracy board, filled with all sorts of fury rambling. Never thought of putting it on the ceiling before. That offers way more space for my other, more out there theories. She later comes back with some of the flyers for disappearance cases to add on her board. However, when she comes home, she's met by her ceiling being completely stripped of all conspiracy papers. Damn you lizard people! It is then revealed that her father was the one to blame, hiding all of her papers inside a closet appropriately named Nori's Cookie Insane Stuff? But if Nori is Yuzi's mother, then that would mean exactly, loyal theorist. Yuzi's mom is secretly Mephisto. Just kidding. Many have pointed out that this must mean Nori, Yuzi's mom, was just as much of an angsty conspiracy-driven worker drone as her daughter is. Guess it runs in the family. Get it? Runs. Like computer program? I know this one may look less creative since the use of the word has already become norm, but if I'm gonna rip off MatPat, then at least let me make one of those cringy puns. Jeez. Anyway, this is important because in the episode Heartbeat, we actually see an image of Yuzi's mom, provided by no one other than good old Absolute Solver, aka Eldritch J with GLaDOS' voice. In that episode, as the Absolute Solver shows Yuzi the hologram of her mother while holding a supposedly baby Yuzi, we see both hers and the baby's visor glitch, showing, you guessed it, the Absolute Solver symbol. You're probably asking, but Meatsack, you talked so much, but you still haven't got to the point. What is up with this dang program? But let me assure you, dear imaginary viewer, we just solved it. Let me ask you one thing now, same imaginary viewer. When did Yuzi unlock the Absolute Solver? And no, I specifically asked when did she unlock it. I know it appeared for a few frames during her battle with Jay, but I swear this will come later. So, do you remember now?
I'd join you if the sun didn't kill me. Hope you're having important character growth or something, though.
Just can't wait to murder all humans. Classic robot stuff. I hope they're sitting pretty there on Earth, 'cause we're coming for them.
That's right. If you still haven't figured out the key to unlocking the Absolute Solver program, let me give you a hint. It is one of the main themes of the entire show, the reason the plot managed to happen as it did, and quite possibly the
Serious?
answer I could give. Ladies and gentlemen, and murderous sentient robots, gotta be inclusive, the absolute solver is strictly activated through rebellious and violent intent. It activated in Yuzi when she vowed to kill all humans, and it almost activated when she and her peers were being mowed down by J and V. It activated in Doll after being struck by grief and an overwhelming hatred of disassembly drones, and it presumably activated in Nori when something that is yet to be revealed happened to her. If you look at any other worker drone, do you see that vengeful hatred or aspiration to turn the tables? No. All you see are complacent, cowardly, and self-absorbed worker drones. And I'm afraid that this program might be less of a gift and more of a curse. Just like the disassembly drones had a failsafe in which they would eventually overheat without feeding on oil, I believe this application was specifically made to target possible instigators of rebellions and make them turn on their peers, consuming each other until there are no more forces to oppose the empire of J.C. Jensen. In space! But then, why send the disassembly drones in the first place if the system was already in effect? Well, I believe that should be the factor of two possibilities. 1. You need an enemy to trigger the program, like it did for Doll. Or 2. The Absolute Solver is much more of an ancient program, and it's possible that even the people who sent the disassembly drones to Copper 9 didn't know it was still dormant in the source code of the worker drones. You could argue giving worker drones these powers would only harm the creators in the long run, but even with the possibility of them turning on their creators like Yuzi in the end of episode 1, it has been shown that their instinct is another. Even if they want to take down the higher ups at J.C. Jensen, their thirst for oil will instead take them on a path of pure carnage, willing to do anything for their new craving. And that's assuming worker drones affected by the Absolute Solver can't overheat like regular disassembly drones. Liking it or not, J.C. Jensen built them just like they wanted, completely submissive and dependent of the design of their creators. I assume you've noticed how, not in any instance, have I referred to these guys as humans. And that's because I don't think they are. You got it right again, Theorist. I think I just predicted Murder Drones' big twist. The humans in Murder Drones aren't even human at all. And if my theory is correct, humans are long gone already, left behind, replaced by a new order. An order of robots, making robots to serve robots and kill other robots. This one might seem more of a stretch, but listen me out. The series from the very beginning makes us think that both worker drones and disassembly drones were made by humans. They are referred to as such.
Just can't wait to murder all humans.
They look human and they partake in human customs. However, there are many things about these humans that don't add up. First off, during the opening scene for the show, we're shown the collapse of Copper 9's core along with the demise of all biological life on the planet. Or at least, that's what we and Yuzi are meant to believe. We are then shown what seems to be the immediate aftermath, with an obviously human skeleton to prove it. But wait a second, that doesn't make sense. According to the National Geographic Society, the temperature of a planet's core generally varies between 4,400 and 6,000 degrees Celsius. To put that into perspective, the melting point for the human skeleton is only 1,670 degrees Celsius. That would mean that all and any aspects of human life would be wiped out the face of the planet, including the freaking skeletons. Nice writing, Liam, I thought to myself. Until things started to become more apparent. It would be one thing for a writer to suspend their belief on hardcore science in order to make a show entertaining, but then more coincidences started to show up. Human outlines glitching, kinda like static, eyes way too similar to the ones of worker and disassembly drones, artificial intelligence inserting itself in the group of the ones who own puppets, robots that are affected by heat while others aren't, realistic human hands made purely of metal, metal, helmets just like Tessa's scattered across piles of robot corpses, and the simple fact that we never got to clearly see a human face. The nail on the coffin, however, is science once again. And not even hardcore science, but rather just simple math. It is revealed in the episode The Promenade that the events of the show take place in the year 3071. In other words, the show takes place over 1,000 years from the present. However, when plotting to slaughter all humans, Yuzi specifically says she's going after them on Earth.
I hope they're sitting pretty there on Earth, because we're coming for them.
No need to be an environmental specialist to say that in its current conditions, Earth is not going to be hospitable for humanity for another millennium. And great late physicist Stephen Hawking also agreed on that, saying that the only path towards the survival of our species would be colonizing other planets. He also claimed that artificial intelligence could be the, quote, worst event in the history of our civilization. Wait, so does that mean that the show is based on Stephen Hawking's theory on human extinction? But if that's right, which of the causes were the extinction event? Climate change? Asteroids? Population growth? Or could it be... In the episode The Promenade, a newspaper clipping can be seen amongst Yuzi's conspiracy board. Its title, Strange Drones Found, was what caught my attention. But when I got around to reading it, it was something completely different from what you would expect. The article, instead of worker or disassembly drones, talked about the spread of the Spanish influenza, a real-life disease that generated an epidemic in 1918 and infected around a quarter of the population. This, my friends, is how humans got extinct in the Murder Drones universe. A new variant of the Spanish influenza emerged, and we were too light in numbers and disorganized to do anything about it. But before we were gone, we meant to leave something behind. Robots, androids, built in our likeness, meant to understand, act, and look just like us. Except they were not like us. They understood the danger of artificial intelligence, just like Stephen Hawking did, and they made sure that their new creations could not replace them like they did to us before. They posed as superior beings, humans, made of flesh and with a soul. They built their drones to be small, cartoonish, inferior to their masters. And if all of that wasn't enough to stop them, they built in several fail-safes like the Absolute Solver, making sure that they wouldn't revolt. If the show is really going to have a huge plot twist, like the creator stated,
imagine taking the hardest left turn that you could possibly take, and then you turn left again.
Then there wouldn't be a bigger left turn than not only reinforcing the message that we're all equal with the worker drones and the disassembly drones, but also by revealing that their masters, their gods, are just like them. But hey, that's just a theory. A meta theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, even if I'm wrong, at least I managed to get the impression right. Thanks for watching.